I have here a buttonhole band and a facing, of which I'm going to graft these two pieces together so that the facing will turn to the inside and it will be a buttonhole band complete. And then I can tack down this band on the inside. So the first thing that you need to do is mark your stitches for your buttonhole band. To place waste yarn in a buttonhole for a band that's going to have a facing and be grafted together, you work to the row that you want to have your buttonhole on. So I want a buttonhole, say, right here on these 3 stitches. I worked to those 3 stitches. I stopped working and dropped my project yarn. I'll pick up a piece of waste yarn. I'll leave about a 4-inch tail, and I'll knit 3 stitches with it. Then I slide those purlwise back onto the left needle. Pick up my project yarn and work those stitches again. And continue working to the end of the row, or if you have another buttonhole coming up, you'll work to the next buttonhole and place your waste yarn in those stitches. In this case, I'm just doing the one. So you can see, if I tighten up my tails just a little bit, you can see I have 3 stitches marked there, and I've worked over the top of them with the project yarn. That's how you place your waste yarn. So to begin, you work on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to position it so that the body is on the left. The tails from the waste yarn are also going toward the left. I trimmed the tails from the waste yarn, and then I just took a crochet hook and I pulled them through to the outside just to get them out of the way. So we'll see if that works, if they don't get in the way as much. So now I'm going to begin to work on the grafting. I have threaded my needle with some waste yarn, with some yarn of a different color. It could be your project yarn, it could be a contrasting color yarn, because these can be very pretty decorative graftings for this buttonhole. So I've used a contrasting color so that you'll be able to see exactly what's going on. We start on the band side, and we are going to be grafting these stitches on the inside here to the stitches on the inside here. So these are inside stitches, these are outside stitches, these are inside stitches, these are outside stitches. Going to bring us a little bit closer. Okay, again, inside stitches, outside stitches, inside, outside, inner layer, outer layer, inner layer, outer layer. All right, I begin on the band side. I'm going to work from the outer layer to get myself to the inner layer. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to enter where the yarn tail furthest away from me comes out. There's a little bump here. I'm going to go under that bump. I'm going to follow the path of that waste yarn under the second bump, and I'm going to pull my yarn through. And I'll leave about a 4-inch tail. I'm going to go to the facing. I'm going to start on the outside. I'll go in where the yarn tail comes out furthest away from me, not the tail, I'm sorry. I'm going to come in where the stitch part exits, go under that bump, follow the path of the yarn, and that is where the yarn tail comes out on the inside. So I've worked outside to inside, outside to inside, pull through. Now I'm on the inside layer, the innermost layer, and I will start to graft these stitches. I will enter on the band where I last exited, and I will go under two legs of a stitch. It's easiest to work whichever side. If you worked on the top above this strand or below this strand, I like to work below the strand because I can see the legs easier. So I worked below the strand, I pulled it through, you don't have to pull the yarn tight yet. Go back to the facing, go in where you last came out, move towards you, go under two legs, and pull through. Move back to the band, go in where you came out, under two legs, pull through. Move to the facing, go in where you came out, under two legs, and pull through. Back to the band, in where you came out, under two legs, pull through, to the facing. You're actually done. There's no more bumps here to work on. Okay, so you're in the place where the tail came out, and you're done. You've ended with your tail of your grafting yarn on the band side. That is correct. So we are done grafting the innermost layer. What we need to do now is tighten this up a little bit. We left it loose so that you could see. So now we can just kind of fiddle with it and tighten this grafting yarn up so that it looks like small stitches. Okay, can you see that, how it resembles stitches here? 3 stitches. All right, so now we're going to graft the outermost layers. These stitches here and these stitches here. We have to work ourselves over to the outermost layer. We're going to go over, since we're on the band side, we're going to go over to the facing side and go in where the yarn tail came out. It also is the same place where you came out last time. Go under this bump, follow the path of the yarn tail, and go under this bump, 2 bumps. That takes you to the outermost layer. We'll do the same thing on the band side. Go in where you came out, go under this bump, follow the path of the yarn, the waste yarn, and you'll end up coming out where the tail is. Okay, so now we're on the outermost section. We're on the band layer. We have to go back to the facing. We'll go back to the facing and do just what we did for the innermost section. Go in where we came out, go under 2 legs, and pull through, go back to the band, in where we came out. I'm going to go down here, go under the 2 strands, pull through, go back to the facing, under 2 strands, pull through, back to the band, under 2 strands, and you'll see that we're right back where we started and also where the tail of the waste yarn is coming through, so that's good. We'll do this one more time. On the facing side, we'll go in where we came out and come back up where we exited a long time ago. And so now we end up with a yarn tail on the band facing on the band furthest away from you, and a yarn tail on the facing furthest away from you. Before we straighten all this up and do these stitches tighter, let's take a look at the other side and see what's happened. What we want is for there to be what would be vertical strands. If the buttonhole is going to set like this, the buttonhole is going to set like this on your sweater. You're going to have these vertical lines. So you want a vertical line on all the stitches between your waste yarn ends here. So that's good. And it's going to be a different number. It's going to be more on one side than the other side. That's right. But then also you have to carefully look and see, did you get a strand that covers from the bottom to the top, from the bottom to the top? So we have to kind of look and see, do we have a strand that crosses over? And we do. It's right here. And over on this side, do we have a strand that crosses over? And we do. So in essence, this grafting has encircled that hole. So all we have to do now is remove the waste yarn. I'm going to check on the back too and see we do have a strand that is connecting both sides, and we do have a strand down here that is connecting both sides. So it looks pretty good. Let's remove our waste yarn and see what happened. There's the waste yarn removed on that side. And the waste yarn removed on that side. So all your stitches have been connected. We could go back in here and tighten this row up a little bit. And you can fiddle with that. Oh, I'm not sure where it came from. Oh, here. There we go. And there we go. All right. Okay. So that looks pretty good. That's the inside. This is the outside. And it'll be a vertical buttonhole on your band. So I have some buttons that I want to show you go through this hole. Now this is bulky yarn, and this was a 3-stitch buttonhole. So this is a 7/8 inch button, and it like slides through there like crazy. It's probably a little bit too small for this weight of yarn and for this size of buttonhole. Here's an inch, 1 inch, and it's a lot better. That looks pretty nice. That's a good size buttonhole for that weight of yarn and that size of buttonhole. This is an 1.5 inch button. It'll go through here very easily, and it would also look nice on this size of a band with this weight of yarn and a 3-stitch buttonhole. So it'll work. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching, and I hope that these buttonholes can come in handy for you someday.